The line between the computer animated, the live action, the real and the unreal is a very, very blurry line in this film. We're very lucky that technology has come along such a long way that we're now able to make this film. You couldn't have made this film 5 years ago. Some creatures are CG all of the time, computer generated all of the time. Some creatures are half computer generated, half live. A centaur, for instance, might have a human upper body with a computer generated horse lower body. A faun would have a human upper body with computer generated legs.
When we looked at the schedule and we looked at the number of creatures that we were going to have to do, we knew we couldn't go with a system where each creature was sort of like a one-off, where you're basically doing the whole thing individually. So we actually developed some software that we call Block Party. And the easiest way to think of it is like Mr. Potato Head for creatures, where you can mix and match parts together. They're all broken into individual things, like, for instance, the hand plugs into the arm and the arm plugs into the chest. So with that, what we could do was make a horse and make a human, and then we could take the human and lose the legs and plug the pelvis into the end of the horse neck and basically get a centaur.
The background characters really provide the backdrop and the texture for Narnia. All the actors have these green pants on, and the idea is that they have either fawn legs or centaur bodies. There's a ton of those that have to be replaced.
Of all the characters on this film, it was certain from the very outset that Aslan would be the most challenging. Technically challenging because of all of his hair. It's an incredibly long, beautiful mane, and the look of it had to be perfect.
Welcome, Peter, son of Adam. Welcome, Susan and Lucy, daughters of Eve.
One of the biggest things we had to figure out was how we're going to make a CG lion that really lives up to what everyone's expecting of Aslan. So what we did to start on that journey was to go and look at a real lion. We actually spent time in an animal cage. We took a lot of photographs, a lot of video, and studied that to find out how the different body parts move. What happens when he jumps up onto a table? What happens to his hair when he lays down on the ground? And we started building the character from the inside out. We built a muscle system that starts with a skeleton that we lay muscles on top of that. We figure out where the fatty parts are, how the skin's going to lay over that.
When you look into the fur, you're seeing darker fur inside and lighter fur outside. So I started incorporating that into the actual construction of the fur for the lion, and it just became amazingly real. That was just the look of the fur. Then we had the motion of the fur, and they've worked for months and months and months on getting the dynamics right, so it just moves with every step right, and the motion and the jiggle as the muscles jiggle. And that's been a team of artists working on that month after month to nail that.
In one of which you will sit, Peter, as High King.
That's just to make it look real.
You doubt the prophecy?
No.
We had to build in the facial controls to be able to get every expression, every emotional beat that Andrew was going to demand.
Peter Pevensey, formerly of Finchley. Beaver also mentioned that you planned on turning him into a hat.
To pull an emotional performance out of an animated character, you have to put yourself in that character as an animator. Most animators will have a mirror by them, and they'll actually act out the scene. They'll get a couple other animators together, they'll perform it, they'll videotape it, they'll watch it, they'll rehearse it again. It's all creating these facial shapes and reactions and the blending from one to the other within the scene. It's always interesting to watch Andrew's response to this, because we all have our own responses. And as a guy who understands not only the creative but the technical aspects of it, he's amazingly gifted to be able to pick out what's not true to performance, and not only comment on why that's not true, but also technically why it doesn't work. For Andrew to be able to hone in on what specific facial expression he wants them to do, or what thing is in there that if they eliminated would then, deliver that performance, gets us there eons quicker.